Hello, Jim Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. First, a couple of very short items, so short that I'm not going to bother to put up headlines or quotes. Then some other short items, but a little longer, and then on to the main subject. I'll start now with what just happened a moment ago. The stock market just closed as I'm recording this, the day before you're seeing it. The Dow Jones is now officially in a bear market. A bear market is if an index is more than or exactly 20% below its most recent high. That's or all-time high maybe. Anyways, that's where we are right now. S&P 500 a little bit above bear market. I don't know where the NASDAQ is right now, but I assume that those other two indexes are going to go into a bear market too, unless the Dow pulls out of it. We'll see what happens tomorrow, the day after I'm recording this, obviously, in the day that you're seeing this. The other item I want to mention is that I just saw a news item a little while ago. Norway announced that they have a cure for coronavirus. They tried a drug that they have been using to treat HIV/AIDS, and it worked. So far, using this drug, there has been a 100% recovery rate. Nobody has died who has taken this medication. They have all been cured. The Norwegian scientists are now talking to Bayer and one other company, I don't remember which one it is, but talking about mass producing the cure and making it available globally. That is good news. I wanted to just share that with everybody. It's not a vaccine. It's not going to, just to be clear, it's not a vaccine. It's not going to prevent coronavirus. Scientists are still working on that. But if you do get coronavirus, this will cure it, or it has so far 100% effectiveness. Now, getting on to the news stories where I do have some headlines. This is more good news about coronavirus, I hope. Cuts to passenger flights send air freight rates soaring as manufacturing resumes in China. That last part of the headline, that's the good news part, that it looks like manufacturing is coming back in China. That must mean that they have finally gotten a handle on coronavirus in the country, China, where it originated. I understand that South Korea has arrested the development of coronavirus. Of course, that leaves North Korea. I understand Italy is still having problems. Some other countries, Iran, I understand, is having tremendous problems. Their problem is, besides the problem with coronavirus, is that they suppress their news, so we don't know exactly what's going on. That's number one. Number two, they refuse to accept outside help from the West. The United States has offered to help. They have turned it down. This has happened in the past, too, when, for instance, Israel offered to help Iran after an earthquake, and Iran turned Israel down. They would rather see their people die and suffer than accept help from people that they don't like. It's unfortunate. Next item, and this is more good news. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. It's news you may not have read or seen, but new border wall blocks 90% of illegal crossings, up from just 10%. President Trump's long-promised border wall is working. The new chief of Border Patrol, which is under U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, revealed that the parts of the new, quote, wall system, unquote, are 90%, quote, effective, unquote, up from just 10% before it was built, replacing a ragtag of broken fencing. So good news for us, not for our Democratic friends who want unlimited immigration, and they probably still do even after this coronavirus problem that we're having. Can you imagine if we had an open border, people just streaming into the country over the Mexican border? I don't even want to think about that. Anyways, back to the quotes. Quote, "It changes everything," unquote, said Chief Rodney Scott of the 136 miles of new wall, roadways, and high-tech spyware. Quote, "There is a huge return on investment," unquote, he added. Quote, "This system is going to have a huge impact," unquote, added Deputy Chief Raul Ortiz. In the San Diego area, Scott said that the wall has essentially ended illegal crossings of humans and cars. And in an added benefit, it now requires 150 fewer border agents, a savings of $28 million in salaries and benefits, he said at a press briefing, his first since he and Ortiz took over CBP in January. Plus, with a better border road, vehicles that once fell apart at 40,000 to 60,000 miles now last to 100,000 miles before they are auctioned off. Quote, "There is return after return," quote, said Scott. I haven't read that anywhere in the mainstream press about how well this wall is working, and that's not even including the 26,000 troops that the Mexicans have put along their side of the border to prevent illegal immigration. It's working. It's that simple. Trump was right again. The critics were wrong. They don't want to report it. Somebody did, and now I pass the news on to you, which is why you need to watch my vlog, because I share these news items that you may have missed, especially if you listen only to the mainstream press. And of course, I report their stories too. So watch me, be informed. And speaking of Trump being right, coronavirus shows Donald Trump was right all this time about China. Donald Trump has been insisting for years that our country has been too economically dependent on China. So it is sad that it took a global public health crisis to prove he was right all this time. Just as manufacturers had once moved their factories to China to take advantage of cheap labor, weak regulations, and lower tariffs on exports to developed economies, these companies are now fleeing China for other countries that offer similar business advantages without all the political baggage from Beijing. The coronavirus outbreak around the world could dramatically accelerate the manufacturing exodus from China as companies begin to recognize the perils of giving the authoritarian country so much power over their supply chains. A prime example being the problem that we are having with the medical supply chain from China, getting certain drugs and certain precursors that are needed to manufacture drugs. They are being produced in China. Now we are experiencing a bottleneck in getting those vital materials. As I said in the past, and this is my chance to refer you to an earlier vlog that I did, this is several months ago, I'm going to link to it along with the articles I mentioned. I always do that. I always put links to the articles I mentioned in the description so you can read the whole article. I am this time, though, including a link to one of my own YouTube videos, America and China, The Great Decoupling, where I make this exact argument that Trump is making, that we need to separate ourselves from China. It's okay to do business with China, to trade with China, but we should not allow ourselves to depend on China, at least not for important things. And now we get to the main subject, also about China. This is something that's kind of under the radar for the general public anyhow. I hope it's not for the administration, but it concerns China, and it's a threat that I fear we're going to have to deal with sooner or later if we don't take some strong preventive measures to let the Chinese know that we are awake and on our toes. China's Navy shipbuilders are, quote, outbuilding everybody, unquote. Welcome to another headache for the Pentagon. It appears China has grasped accelerated shipbuilding technologies and related aircraft development as its march toward an imposing blue water navy continues unabated. According to the Global Times, China is reportedly set to launch its second Type 075 amphibious assault ship soon, following the launch of the first one in September. An amphibious assault ship, and this is the important part, an amphibious assault ship is a type of warship which military analysts believe could play a crucial role in reunifying the island of Taiwan by force if it comes to that, and even more are needed, the report said. It is only half a year since the first Type 075 was launched, which is much faster than usual, the Ordnance Industry Science Technology reported, knowing that this means China has mastered the technology of building amphibious assault ships, the report said. Quote, there is no doubt that they've been investing hugely in this, unquote, said Nick Childs, Senior Fellow for Naval Forces and Maritime Security at the London-based International Institute for Strategic Studies. Quote, in recent years, they've been outbuilding everybody, unquote. The obvious conclusion from this is that China is very serious about retaking Taiwan. They are on the lookout for an opportunity to do it. They were looking for weakness in us. We have to stay on our toes. Now, for people who are saying, who cares about Taiwan? Because that's one of my problems with Donald Trump. He seems to be at least a quasi-isolationist. I understand taking troops back from endless wars, okay, I will, or quote unquote, endless wars, okay, I'll cut him some slack on that. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I'll cut him some slack. But that leads me to worry that he will not defend Taiwan, and that matters. That is not just some foreign country where we have no interest. And if you want to know what that interest is, the best way to illustrate how important Taiwan is to look at the map. Here is a map of the area. You can see the Taiwan Strait between China and Taiwan. The world's shipping passes through number one. Number two, more important, our military shipping, our naval shipping goes through the Taiwan Strait. Our aircraft carriers, various other naval vessels, they go through that strait. If you look at that map, it should be obvious that we do not want communist China on both sides of that strait. And so I am very concerned personally. I hope our Pentagon is on top of it, because I'll refer you to a vlog that I did earlier. I'm linking to it again in the description. Title, Could America Lose a War with China and or Russia? Because China has conducted military exercises with Russia. Neither of those two countries are our friends. They are potential allies. Who is to say that we could not someday find ourselves in a war, not with just China, but with China and Russia? I recommend that you go back and not just watch that old YouTube video that I did, but go to the descriptions and read the articles to which I link. There are military experts who are concerned that we are not paying enough attention to a potential war with China and or Russia, and there is the potential that we could lose such a war. I wish I had a happier thought with which to leave everybody. Unfortunately, I don't. But there was that good news about the wall on the border with Mexico and about the cure for coronavirus. So I hope that is some consolation. I also hope that you'll give me a thumbs up if you like this video, that you'll share it with anybody you think would also like the video. You can put any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, as well as any questions you might have, suggestions for future topics. You can subscribe. I would love to have more subscribers, so subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And finally, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.